Hi, students, everyone. Welcome to Module 4, Data-Driven Decision Making. This module is where we move from data exists to data drives decisions. So we're going to be covering things like business intelligence, or how organizations structure and deliver, insight at scale, and then we'll shift into more of the data storytelling and visualizations, because insight is always useful if it doesn't change. Insight is not very useful if it doesn't change behavior. Now, finally, we'll cover blockchain, not really as a hype, but more as a trust in data management concept that shows up on modern business conversations. So let's jump into the presentation, and so you're not just staring at my face, and we'll jump in it. Now, this does cover chapters 7 and 8, and this is your module 4. All right, now here is why this module matters. Organizations don't compete on data, they compete on decisions. Most companies have plenty of data. What they're actually missing is consistent, reliable ways to turn that data into an action item. Now, BI is the process of taking data from different sources, cleaning it up, and organizing it, and delivering it in a form people can actually use. Things like dashboards, KPIs, reports, and alerts. And in business, the cost of bad decisions is really real, and can add up quickly. Things like wasted money, failed projects, lost customers. You can even get into compliance issues with the government, state, local municipalities, and a lot of reputational damage. If people in this community see that you're not doing well, it will damage your chance to grow or expand, or it may even kill you. So this module gives you the foundation on how businesses operationalize analytics and how they make repeatable, governables, and scalable. Now, what you'll be able to do by the end of this chapter, you're going to be able to explain what business intelligence is and how it supports decision making. We're going to be able to distinguish data warehouses versus data marts and why organizations build both. We're going to explain how data moves through a BI system using things like ETL, and why data quality failures happen early. We're going to understand what makes a good KPI and how dashboards should support actual decisions. We're going to use some basic storytelling principles to communicate insight clearly, and we're going to explain blockchain basics and recognize when it's useful versus when it's just noise. So let's clear up a few common misconceptions. We have BI, analytics, and data science, and they overlap, but they're not necessarily the same thing. BI is typically focused on what happened and why it happened. It's descriptive and diagnostic and supports recurring business operations. Data science often focuses on what will happen next and what should we do about it. That's predictive and prescriptive work, which is models, experiments, forecasting, and optimization. Now, in the real workplaces, these lines tend to blur quite a bit, but there is a key point. BI is usually operationalized, meaning it becomes part of how the organizations run, either it be weekly, daily, or even hourly. BI is the foundation for decision making at scale. Data science is for decision making at scale. That's my acronyms there. Now, BI isn't a dashboard. BI is a system. Think of it as like a pipeline. We have our data sources, our integration, storage, modeling, reporting, and decisions. If the early stages are broken, dirty inputs, inconsistent definitions, missing context, then everything downstream becomes polluted and toxic. A beautiful dashboard built on really bad data is worse than no dashboard at all, because it creates a lot of false confidence. So when you see a BI output, your brain should automatically ask, where did this data come from, how was it transformed, and what assumptions are made with it. Now, BI shows up absolutely everywhere. We have it with our sales dashboards, bringing in things like revenue, pipeline, and conversion rates. We have it in the operations of our companies, from inventory, delivery performances, and bottlenecks. It's in our marketing fields with customer segments, campaigns, and return on investments. It's in our finance sector that we do cash flows with BI, budget tracking, and risk indicators. And if you're into HR, those corporate environments, you're talking turnover, hiring pipelines, and performance metrics. And even if you're in that C-suite executive style stuff, we have executive scorecards, we have strategic KPIs that tend to the business goals. All of that is done with BI. Now, BI is the bridge between raw systems and leadership decisions. It's how organizations stop relying on, I think this is, or this is how we've always done it, so we keep, and start relying on, we can prove it, so we're going to move it this way. Now, inside BI, we have data warehouses, and we want to talk about what they are and why we use them. Now, a data warehouse is a central repository designed for analysis. These are operational systems like point of sales, HR software, learning management systems like your Blackboard that you're using here, and they're designed for transactions. They record events very, very quickly. Warehouses are built to answer questions like what trends have we seen over time? How do departments compare? Where's the performance pattern by region, by product, or customer type? Warehouses store historic data. Then they integrate multiple sources and allow a lot of consistent reporting. They also support governance, meaning you can standardize definitions across entire organizations inside of your data warehouses. Now, data marts, on the other hand, are a focused BI for a specific department. A data mart is typically smaller, focused slice of the data built for a specific unit, like either a marketing BI or a finance or a student success data mart. Now, why do we create marts? It's because departments want speed and relevance. A finance team doesn't want to dig through everything. They want finance-ready data. They don't really care about how Steve in office management is doing on his project. They just want numbers. But there's a trade-off here. If you build too many separate marts without any coordination, you can actually create a multiple truth problem where every institution or sub-institution inside your institution believes their data is the one true truth. That's when one dashboard says revenue is X, another dashboard says revenue is Y, and nobody trusts either other's dashboards. So marts can be useful, but they require a lot of discipline and a lot of governance. With ETL and ELT, this is how data gets ready for the BI. This is where BI either succeeds or fails. Now, ETL stands for extract, pull data for systems from source systems. Transform, clean it, standardize it, and join and fix the issues, and load, store it in the warehouse or mart. So it's extract, transform, load. ELT flips the order. You load first, transform later inside the warehouse environment, which is common in a lot of our modern cloud systems. Either way, the core problem is the same. If transformation is weak, you end up with inconsistent definitions and dirty fields. Most BI problems aren't visualization problems, they're data preparation problems. Now, governance and data quality go together hand in hand. Governance is the unglamorous part of BI or business intelligence, and it's the reason BI works long term. Governance answers questions like who owns the definition of customer? What counts as revenue? Who can access what data? What is the official source of truth? Data quality is a business issue. If you can't trust data, you can't trust the decisions. So a strong BI environment invests in governance and quality controls even when it's not flashy because it prevents a lot of expensive mistakes as you grow and scale. Now we have KPIs, and these are the few metrics that really matter inside it. So let's talk about KPIs. Now a metric is anything measurable, absolutely anything. That can be quantitative or qualitative metric, it's anything that you can measure. A KPI is a metric that is directly tied to a goal and used for decision making. A good KPI has a clear definition, an owner, a target, and a refresh cycle. And here's the trap. If you have too many KPIs, it equals no KPIs at all. If everything is a priority, absolutely nothing is a priority. KPIs are supposed to focus attention on what drives outcomes. And if you're going to have your KPIs, the end goal is to get to dashboards that actually work. Now, dashboards should answer specific questions or for specific audiences. A good dashboard is not as many visuals as possible. A good dashboard is decision support. You should always be able to ask, who is this for? What decision are they making? What action should the dashboard trigger? Now, dashboards should highlight a few things. The best are trends over time, performance against matrix, exceptions and anomalies, and context that helps interpret the numbers. If your dashboard doesn't help someone decide, it's just decoration. It's art. It might as well be a colored picture on a refrigerator. Dashboards are there for decision making and decision making only. We don't need a visual vomit on a page. Now, inside these dashboards is where we start getting the ability to do data storytelling. This is turning insight into those decisions. Data storytelling is how you turn analysis into action. The structure is very, very simple. We have context. What problem are we solving? We have evidence. What does the data actually show? We have insight. It shows this. What does it mean? And we have action. All right, we now know what it means. What do we do? What do we recommend? People don't remember charts. They remember clear conclusions tied to consequences. Excuse me. Your job is to reduce confusion and increase clarity. That means you interpret, summarize, and connect the data to those decisions. Now, even with those charts, we do have some fundamentals to help that process along. Because if you're going to interpret, summarize, and connect, you need to be able to show it to people in a way that they will absolutely understand. Now, so your visualizations has some fundamentals. Visualization is about communicating meaning very quickly. Your chart should match intent. A comparison is a bar chart. Trends is line charts. Compositions is a stacked or pie chart. And those have to be done pretty carefully. Relationships are always scatter plots, and avoid a lot of those misleading visuals. If we have inconsistent scales, overly complex charts, hidden definitions, or unnecessary clutter, that is typically a sign that someone's trying to hide something from you or get something over on you, and they're not actually telling you the truth with the BI environment or the chart. Now, a basic standard, if someone has to stare at your visual for 30 seconds to understand it, it's not doing its job. I should be able to look at that visual, see it, understand what your topic was, what question you're asking, and what outcome you're expecting. But even if you were able to do all of that, good BI still absolutely fails sometimes. BI fails even when the tech is right, even when the tech is fine. The common reasons are bad data and inconsistent definitions. That one true truth is very important inside business intelligence. A lack of adoption. People just flat out ignore the dashboards. We've seen this in so many companies. Company buys a gigantic new dashboard system. They put everything in it, and Mary Sue has an Excel on the back end that she's not connected to anything, that she's still running from the past 25 years, and just ignores the new $1 million dashboard. That lack of adoption absolutely corrupts your BI environments. We have political resistance. Data threatens someone's narrative. If I'm able to control the dashboard, I'm not able to control the truth, I can make myself look good. And so if you take that away from me, all of a sudden you're going to have a lot of political resistance. That person doesn't want to give up their truth. Now, KPIs that reward the wrong behavior is another piece, and dashboards built to look impressive rather than drive decisions. If it doesn't actually drive a decision, it is just art. So your dashboards can be pretty, but make sure they're useful. Now, BI is much about culture as it is about software. Organizations have to be willing to be held accountable by the data if you're going to use the data. Now, there's ethics to this. And you're going to see a lot of these concepts in every single module sort of repeat and build upon each other and get more and more in depth. And ethics is one of those pieces that is at the core of all business and data intelligence because it can modify, change, and harm people in very real, very direct ways. And in BI, this is where BI overlaps with ethics. Analytics can influence decisions about who gets approved, who gets flagged, who gets targeted, who gets the resources, or who gets opportunities like hiring, firings, upgrades, promotions, whatever. So the ethical risks include, we got biased outcomes, we have privacy violations, we have a bit of surveillance creep that can happen, and we have manipulation through targeting. If we want to get rid of a department, I can sure modify my statistics and numbers in my dashboards to make that department look really bad if I'm holding on to the truth, my one true truth. A professional analyst should always ask, who could be harmed by this metric or model? Are we using data people reasonably expected us to use? And are we optimizing for what measures or what isn't meaningful? Ethics is not a bonus topic inside the BI environment. It's part of doing analytics very responsibly. Now, inside of this, of the ethics, one of the things we have to do is protection. We have to protect our data, we have to encrypt our data, we have to do a lot of that ways to just have a secure environment. And we do that through blockchain. So let's talk about some blockchain basics, just without the hype of news articles and people have been talking about this for a few years. What is blockchain? Well, blockchain is often misunderstood, so we're going to keep it very, very grounded and at a very high level. Blockchain is a shared ledger where entries are cryptographically linked. That linking makes tampering harder because changing one record breaks the chain. Blockchain's big promise is trust without a single controlling owner in certain scenarios. But it comes with a lot of real world trade-offs, which are speed, cost, complexity, and governance. So we treat blockchain as a tool, Useful sometimes, but it is absolutely not magical. But it is a way to encrypt files that stay true across all things, unifying that one true truth. Now, blockchain versus centralized databases, there's some practical distinctions. A centralized database is very fast, efficient, and controlled by a single organization. Could be cloud-based, but it's cloud-based likely on base. A blockchain is slower, more complex, but can support shared trust against multiple parties. That could be inside the company, outside the company, with a government agency, with a nonprofit, something of that nature. We use blockchain when multiple organizations need to share a record and don't fully trust each other, like supply chain verifications, shared credentialing, or certain settlement processes. Don't use blockchain when a normal database solves the problem. Don't overcomplicate when you don't need to. If one organization owns and controls the system, a relational database is usually the better choice. I think I forgot to slip a couple slides there. Yeah, here we go. Now, there are some examples where blockchain makes a lot of sense. First, we have our supply chain traceability. It's proving origin and chain of custody, where something came from, who holds it at what point, and where it ends up. Think your Amazon delivery systems. You order from a company in China, it hits the deck, it goes across the boat to the big department, onto the train to the warehouse to the mail place, out to you on the truck, and you get those updates all the time. That's supply chain traceability. We have identity and credential verifications. Think your real IDs, tags into every federal government. We have smart contracts and controlled environments, multi-party auditing where trust matters. But again, the question always is, do we need shared trust across organizations? If you don't need blockchain. Blockchain will just add complexity without any actual meaningful value. Now, that's Module 4. You have your ebooks you have to read up on, do all those type of pieces, so jump in there. Module 4 was all about building the mindset of a professional analyst. BI is how organizations operationalize data for decisions. Warehouses and marts structure data for analysis. ETL and governance decide whether data is trustworthy. KPIs and dashboards should drive action, not decoration. And storytelling turns insights into decisions. And finally, blockchain is a specialized trust model. Make sure you use it intentionally when it's appropriate. So for your workflow for this module, you've done your pre-quiz, this was your lecture, you're going to do your ebook readings and your smart book, you're going to jump in that case study for some real world hands-on, or some ethical thinking power, then some Power BI for hands-on, and finally an assessment through the exam. Remember that everything is always due by the deadline of the pacing schedule, which is Friday at 5, or on a Friday at 5. And so if you need anything else, let me know. Otherwise, go get it and get the rest of your module, and I'll be here if you need me. Bye, guys.